Okay, so this is the day 22 review video. Um, I think it's Sunday, Labor Day weekend. So let's see, we started in Lewiston this morning. The bed at that hotel, Holiday Inn Express, up on top of the hill, was very comfortable. And they actually had pillows that weren't 10 inches thick, so that too was very comfortable. That's one of my pet peeves, is all the hotels seem to think we all want pillows that make our necks go like this when we're trying to sleep, and I can't deal with that. Makes me wake up sore, stiff, headache, you name it. Ruins my day. Anyway, we all slept really good. So hit snooze a few times, got a late start, got up in time to still get breakfast, all important. And I think we might have rolled out by 11 o'clock once we finally got on the bikes and started rolling. And went back across the river and got on US 95, which is a really cool climb up and over the mountains on the north side of town. I mean, you go from, I want to say it was like 600 feet or something down by the river to 2,500 feet by the time you come up over the pass and get up on the top. You're not really actually going up and over a mountain. It's more like you're just climbing up out of a valley onto a plateau. And once you get up on the top of the plateau, it's just these beautiful rolling hills that had freshly harvested wheat and barley and hay. There were big, huge combines everywhere. Some of them were still running. You know, there were big 18-wheelers parked out in the middle of the pastures and stuff. But the patterns that they make, you know, when they cut, it's kind of like when a yard gets mowed and you have the lines going to where, and these lines are just following the hills and the contours of the hills, some of which are amazingly steep. I don't know how these things can get around those hills and not flip sideways, especially because they're so big. They must not be top heavy though. But it was just really neat, really different colors. You know, it wasn't all one color like you might think. Lots of red and yellows and tans. And anyway, you know, we ran up 95 to a little town called Genesee, I think it is, and got off the main highway and hopped on to a little back road, old Highway 95. And this was a fun road because they didn't do a lot of cut and fill when they made the road. So the road just really follows the contour of the land. It's just one lane each way, a little narrow, blacktop. It was actually really good road surface. And started getting a little bit more trees and bigger hills here and there. So the scenery was just really amazing, and still had all these little patterns. So like you might have a big clump of trees and they just would do circles around it, kind of like a Japanese Zen garden, you know, where you have the stones in there and they'd rake around it and make the patterns. It was a lot like that. Really cool. Really enjoyed that. That was just a real fun ride. And we ran that all the way up to a little place, I want to say it's called Troy. No, there was just a bunch of little tiny towns. We stopped and got gas. Talked to a dude that had a 4Runner, had a little Honda 150 CRF on the back, you know, in race trim. And he and his buddies were getting ready to go rip it up in the woods and ride some trails. And he was asking me about the adventure bikes and stuff, and very interested. Real nice guy. Had a little old lady that pulled up to the handicap spot next to my bike. Got out of her car, spent a few minutes looking over my bike, checking it out. Came over to talk to us because we were standing in front of the store, you know, drinking Gatorades and stuff. And starts telling us about how she used to ride Harleys and built some of them by herself, no help. And, you know, used to travel. And her and her girlfriend were out traveling one time and got caught in all kinds of nasty weather, you know, wearing leathers. And the leather would get soaked and would get heavy and cold and everything else. And you know, she looked like she might be in her late 70s, early 80s even. But she was quite a character, pretty funny. Not real tall, so imagine this tiny little woman pushing a Harley around, riding a Harley around. But took off out of there, got back on the fun roads, and we eventually got, I think we were running up Highway 8 or something, got to a little town, what is it called? Deary, Deary. And there we hopped on Highway 9, running back to the northwest. And again, this was just a real fun, nice, easy ride. We got to Highway 6, turn north, and this runs up into the St. Joe National Forest, and this was really cool. Went through an area, White Pines something. Sarah was asking, how far is the next town? Gotta go to the restroom, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I see a campground sign. It's like, okay, we'll whip in there, because they almost always have the vault toilets. And sure enough, we pull in right there at the entrance. They got a vault toilet, and immediately it's like everything about that place was really cool. Toilet was cool, but for different reasons. But they had all these really big, massive white pine trees that were just, huge. There was one laying on the ground that actually had a sign next to it that said it was over 600 years old. I think it fell down, or it died in 1998, and they cut it down in 1999, but it's still laying there. And they cut out a little section of the trunk where the trail goes through the trunk, but on either side of the trail they built like a little fence around what's left of the trunk, which was quite a bit, and had a little sign next to it. But there were still a lot of other huge, massive trees and trails, and just had a real kind of, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit type feel to it, like you're in Fangorn Forest or something like that. Really old trees with moss everywhere, and little creek running through it. Just really neat. And the road was also just a lot of fun through there, especially, once we got up on the north end of it. There was a lot of twisties, and got into a real fun rhythm. You always seems like you catch a car at the worst possible time, but was able to actually get around those cars and still have a good time. It's kind of interesting though, because the roads that turned left away from the mountain were still in the shade, and there had been some rain that came through last night, and so the left-hand corners were wet. The right-hand corners were far enough out away that they were getting sunlight, so they were all dry. So you could have a lot of fun in the right-hand corners, but you had to really be careful in the left-hand corners. And that was just a really neat, really fun road. We all really enjoyed that a lot. Ran that up north to, what was it? Highway 3. I think it just kept on going north. Let's see what it is. Yeah, Idaho 3. We just kept following Idaho 3 up to St. Marie, I think it's called. And the idea was that we would roll into that town, naively thinking we could get a hotel, Labor Day weekend, booked, everything, but just not a whole lot of hotels. It's a pretty small town. But what we were wanting to do was leave the bikes, or get a hotel, take all of our luggage off the bikes, leave the luggage at the hotel, and then run out to the east on the St. James River Road. This is a road that I had on one of our original routes that we had kind of changed up and missed. And I want to say that one side of the river has a paved road, and then the other side of the river has an old railroad bed road that's gravel. So you can do paved or gravel. So we were thinking we would do like an out and back without all the luggage on the bikes, which would be a lot of fun. But when we got there and couldn't find any hotels, yeah, that plan went out the window real quick. So started looking around, and it was like the next nearest town that might actually have any hotels, that, enough hotels that we'd have a chance to get in a room, was a town called Coeur d'Alene, I think it is. I don't do French. Didn't take that class in high school. Didn't have to do that when I was in high school. But it's a pretty big town. It's, real close to the border with Washington. It's right on the north end of huge, Coeur d'Alene Lake, which it was a really fun ride going around the lake. Really nice road, real pretty, great scenery, and a big RV at the head of a long line of traffic who was just going really slow. So we just, sat at the back, ran about 55 miles an hour, and just enjoyed it was a very mellow ride. If you weren't careful, it'd make you sleepy, because it was, very back and forth, up and down, Eventually we reached I-90, I think it is. Yeah, I-90. Got on the freeway. Almost immediately we see a highway patrol pull out onto the freeway, and he's cruising along, passing people, catches that RV and pulls the RV over. And I don't know what he was getting pulled over for. I'm thinking maybe it looked like maybe one of his jacks, the leveling jacks, are mounted to the back of the RV. It looked like one of those leveling jacks might have been hanging down low. I don't know, maybe the cop is just being a nice guy and gonna say, hey, you need to fix your jack. or saw something else. I don't know. Anyway, we got around them, got moving. And that stretch of I-90, it runs along the north side of this lake. It's fun. You don't say that much about freeways. There's a few sections of freeways in places like in North Carolina, north of Asheville. I can't remember what the freeway number is, but it's twisting and winding through the mountains, and you can get going pretty quick because it's a freeway, and they're not real sharp corners because it's a freeway, and you can run them pretty quick. And I want to say the speed limits here were 65 or 70, but everyone was moving pretty quick. We had a group of 4 banditos on their cruisers that came ripping through everybody, riding side by side, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, really close together, basically as a unit of 4, moving in and out of traffic, being kind of pushy about it. And they were hauling. I just got out of the way, let them go on by. Didn't even bother waving at them because they don't wave back, and let them do their thing. But it was just a fun ride from Highway 3 across the north side of that lake until we got into town, and real quick found the Best Western where I'd already reserved the last room, and it was actually not a terrible rate compared to what we've been getting lately. And it's a pretty nice place. It has a bar grill in the facility, like a restaurant. And when that restaurant closes, they have an actual bar that's open if you're into that and you just want to hang out in the bar. They have live music. It's a huge place too. Lots and lots of rooms. Big room that we got here. It's real nice. Hot tub, pool, Cracker Barrel, just down the street. Texas Roadhouse not far away, but don't think I'm going to be heading out again this evening. Sarah and I are hanging out here in the hotel room, and Daniel's out sitting on the bike enjoying a pretty evening, texting his not girlfriend. And yeah, fun day. Really good riding. Sitting here now trying to figure out what in the world I'm going to do tomorrow because we're so far off the original routes. Still trying to find our way to the northern tip of Idaho, Montana, right there along the border where the two come together. Little town of Eureka up there. There's the Yak River Road. Kind of want to get up to there, and it gets right up to the border of Canada. And then I was thinking we might go into the northwest corner of Glacier National Park, but some of the feedback I've been getting online about that road says might not be a good idea. So we may run down towards Kalispell, Columbia Falls, see if we can find a place to camp or get another hotel. Right at this point, Sarah's really liking the hotels, and I can't fault her for that because, camping's fun, being out in the woods, having the campfire, blah, 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 setting up the tent, tearing down the tent, being freezing cold in your tent all night, not sleeping well. That part's not fun. Not having a hot tub, all those things. So, we've been doing a lot more hoteling than we were originally thinking we might do. So anyway, that's it for today. We're still having fun. No major equipment failures today. No bike problems or anything like that. We're still struggling with communicators, being kind of unreliable sometimes, but they are working. And if I can find a place to buy the new ones that I'd like to get, I'll do that and ship these home or throw them away. I mean, they're 8 years old. The batteries aren't charging real well anymore. Just kind of annoying that they waited until the middle of a trip like this to start giving us trouble after working so well for so many years. But that's just the way it goes. So we'll update you tomorrow. Bye.